Hello, my name is Joseph Wojtkowiak. Today I will give you guys a case study presentation that I did for the semester of spring. I will jump right in, give you guys the PowerPoint slide. That's a case study I did with a student from Germany. At first we were asked like find a student, do a type of like counseling for them. And I don't know too many people in the States. I picked a good friend from Germany, and he was fine with it, and we did all the consent and all that stuff. Let's jump straight into the first slide. It's pretty much multicultural analysis. So Fatmi is she's of Albanian heritage and of German upbringing. She was born and raised in Germany. Both her parents are from Albania. They both became refugees during the Kosovo War in Yugoslavia back then in the 90s, and they fled when they were children. So they are from Albania, but pretty much grew up in Germany. So they have pretty much both sides in it. And their parents are from Albania as well. And lives in multicultural Heidelberg. Use pics. So I'm gonna give you a couple pictures how Heidelberg looks like. Looks like it's my hometown. So we pretty much have the castle and the Neckar River, the forest and the mountains behind it. And it's the view of Königstuhl. It's a famous site. It's actually called the Goetheweg, Goethe Path, famous writer from Germany. And that's how it looks like from the view of the castle. And you might assume it's very beautiful. It is beautiful, but you don't want to judge by a book by its cover because that's where she grows up. That's where we grew up. And actually, that's just Emmertsgrund. Let me Google Boxberg really quick. Boxberg. Do we have Boxberg here? Boxberg, Heidelberg. I should have been prepared. I was not. And pretty much here's a good view of Boxberg. Oh, nope, I messed up. Sorry, guys. Anyway, Boxberg is to the left. So this is Emmertsgrund and Boxberg to the left, and I went to the same school. I know the area really well, and it's pretty much a very like multicultural place where a lot of migrants and refugees are housed, and it's a very multicultural area. And back to our slide, that's why I said use pics because like if you would Google Heidelberg, you would only hear good things about it. It's the number one tourist town in Germany. And also, one thing I have to point out is the difference between the US assimilation process versus the European integration, especially in Germany, because even though I study class about United States laws and ethical regulations and rules, the problem is I'm talking with someone who lives in Germany who's of Albanian heritage, and so I had to do a little bit more research and give it more thought because I just couldn't find someone here, and it made the case a little bit more interesting. Next point is multilingual exposure to German versus USA. And so I noticed as I was doing more research in the States, like it's almost like Hollywood. You make it too fancy, too much of a big deal. You don't really normalize it like it's in Germany. It's because Germany is. Let's pull up a map for everyone. Europe map. I should have been more prepared. I'm sorry. So pretty much, let's pick something very simple like that right here. Oh, that's terrible. Uh, let's see. I'm wasting a good amount of time here. Nope, that didn't work. Stop. Upload image. There you go. So that's good. So Germany is in the middle of Europe, and the thing is too is I hate the American attitude where it's just they say a bunch of white people, but it's very insulting for someone in Europe. Like you wouldn't compare a German to a Greek. Greeks wouldn't want to be compared to Turkish people. Spanish people don't want to be compared to Finnish. French people don't want to be compared to the British people. Europe has over 200 cultures, languages, many countries, and when you look at the states, you have 50 states, and yes, all American English speaking. Do you have here and there, but we have countries, history, thousands of years history, and it is not fair to make a comparison compared to the states, and that's why, oopsie, hopefully I won't get bumped up for that picture. But anyway, and I was thinking of the multilingual exposure because Germany is very normalized when it comes to immigrants because we get them from everywhere, especially from Africa in the Middle East because it's around the corner, while the United States has only like on its east the Atlantic to its west, the Pacific, north of Canadian, so it's pretty much very American as well. They speak English, very similar art, culture and architecture. And in Europe, it's just a different game. And then go to next with diverse but socially distinct communities. And again, United States focus very much on struggle and simulation, and also again Hollywood glamorizing it. While in Germany, it's like normal people, like when I think of Turkish people, Russian people, like people who fled the Soviet Union, Eastern Bloc from Africa, they're not glamorizing it. It's more like normal. It's part of them. They live like with me. I'm from Germany, but I'm a U.S. born citizen. So I like to tell people I'm culturally a German because I moved to the States when I was 16, and I'm a U.S. born citizen. I feel very different about my identity than compared in the States. You're just American when you can claim your ethnic background, while in Germany, in Europe, it's much deeper. I don't want to waste too much time. Let's jump to the next point: behavioral assessment. So when it comes to FATMIA, responsible at home, curious at school, language challenges persist, engage with diverse peers, confidence issues in German context. So let me break it down a little bit. So since she speaks Albanian, she's taught Al- her native language of Albania, English and German, and it made it interesting for me because I have to think about an American standpoint about the rules we have here, and I have to kind of translate it to over there, and it's very distinctly different how they do things procedurally. And I always have to think about like, yeah, her language barrier in school, but German schools are a little bit more better prepared. They're set up because it's more normalized compared to here. It's more like advertised, I like to say. But she, because of her background, because it's different in German and Albanian, she struggles a little bit. It's stays in the background, only wants to answer when she feels comfortable, and very much a lot of German. Never think of it as a negative way. I look at it as a learning process. So let me go to the next slide. I have to use my cheat sheet, of course, because I'm just read it from the slide. Pia gets cognitive development therapy, formal operational stage. Pia gets 1972. That's when it came out. Abstract thinking and metacognition, complexity of thoughts, dual language, quiet in class, possible anxiety, personal example. So personal example, that's a little bit silly. So pretty much when I moved to the States when I was 16, I mean, I spoke English, but it wasn't really the best. But when I joined the army, that's where I learned most of my English. And one of my most favorite memories is like during basic training, they yell at you, they move fast. And the thing is, I rarely understood what's going on. So very often, then when they would punish us, you would have to do push-ups or sit-ups, and I would always like. There's 20 guys in formation, and we would get the punishment. And I was the last guy, like as we were in the push up position, they go down. I would go down last because I didn't know what's going on. So I had to look around like, are they going down? Okay, I have to go down. I go up, up. And the drill sergeant would scream like, because of this guy, you have to do more because he's too slow. But if me, I just didn't understand what's going on. I would have to visually just copy other people instead of listening to instructions. And I like that example because she's very much like, because I see that if you're not like, if it's not your native language country, you're more taking it back and take it slowly to observe how you have to learn a little bit slower to get used to what's going on so you can participate. And when I think about myself, like I try to think of it like when I see a problem with another person, I like to think, how did I experience that similar problem? And then I can translate it better. Next point, support with written work and choice-based tasks. Like, so speaking was a main issue, but writing and doing is not an issue. So we have to separate where in mind she's there, but openly stepping out and doing it in front of other people because it's a little bit strange, a little bit slow. And let me go to my notes real quick. Fatma is like in the formal operational stage. She is 12 and she demonstrates abstract thinking and can analyze ideas and draw connection. Metacognition thinks about her own learning process, reflecting in journals. Struggles, she's quiet in group discussion, may not confidently express complex thought. Support strategies, use written response project and visual presentation as alternative to verbal discussion. Let her process ideas privately before sharing publicly. So instead of putting someone just in the spot, you have to take a slow approach where like a teacher would know who's the best student, so you would use that person as an example. And very often, like as I get older, I like to raise my hand like, I love to be wrong because then when they know it's wrong, someone might say, "Oh, I thought about it, but then I know the right answer." They're more confident to step up. So very often, I always like to be in groups, the first one to respond. I don't care if I'm right or wrong. 'Cause it's not about being right or wrong for me. It's about getting people to talk. And very often, when I done therapy in group, I lead by example, and everybody jumps in. So, I could tell you examples on, but let's jump to the next step. So Vygotsky's social constructive theory, zone of proximal development, 1978, peer support crucial language as a cultural learning tool, scaffolding through structured collaboration. I will use my cheat sheet again. Flatme is in her zone of proximal development. She can engage but needs scaffolding support. And the reason I highlight scaffolding is as I was taking a couple classes in psychology, and they use strange word like scaffolding. I have to Google it, and words like holistic, and I was like, holistic, and it just needs internal qualities. And anyway, it's just interesting that we use different word for the world of psychology, I guess, or observing students of their behavior. Going extra quiet demeanor in class may stem from navigating multiple languages in classroom discourse, social anxiety or uncertainty, support strategy partner, a supportive peer, use small group projects or cooperative learning tasks, encourage communication through writing, visual, or media. Vygotsky sees language and social interaction as key, so making her feel safe and supportive socially helps learning. And very often it's great to do, in school settings, very often you know, Americans, when I watch movies, very often you have a table, two students, and it's supposed to work in teams. But I think as a teacher, you really much have to know your students and know who works best chemistry wise, working together. And that's why not like a teacher needs to know their student, learn them, and put them together with people. Because if you put two similar people together, they will most likely develop relationships, friends, and be able to work. I'm a big fan of exposure therapy, where instead of cuddling them, sugarcoating them, making things neat, it needs to be harder. Not hard, but small steps to make it easier. The beginning is always hard till it becomes easy. And right here, jump to the next slide is Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence, intrapersonal and logistical mathematical strength, possibly visual, spatial, or musical talents, creative projects, encourage engagement, diverse assessment, better inclusions. And let's see, cheat sheet again. Gardner's multiple intelligence factly displays interpersonal intelligence, deeply self-aware and reflective, e.g. journal about group discomfort, logical mathematical intelligence, strong with structured tasks and analysis, possibly visual, spatial, or musical intelligence. If she enjoys art or music, support strategy, let her demonstrative understanding through creative format, recognized and valued nonverbal strength, used alternative assessments, creative project works, visual works. So accommodating for what's going on in our head, how we come out of it. It's very hard just to step out. And as a teacher, you need to really, when I was a mental health tech, I always tell my patient that you need to have a set of tools to be able to help yourself. So instead of having one tool, learn many ways to help yourself and have a tool bag filled with tools to be able to support yourself, help yourself. I think a teacher needs a similar approach where as more they learn, so more tools they have to help their students. Because if you have 20 students and let's say a third of them are all a little bit different, then you are prepared to assess what's going on because of the diversity. And diversity is a hard word for me because it's been so politicized. But I don't want to go too deeply into it. I think we have to say diverse means tools to help people, and knowing what kind of people are out there to use the right tool is always a good strategy, at least in my opinion. And having projects in mind and getting things done is really, really good. So let's jump to the next subject. Legal and ethical considerations, FERPA, project privacy, German versus USA. Okay, EEOA, ensure in language support, NEA, ethics, promote safety and respect. And so I put the note in Germany versus USA again. She's from Germany, of Albanian heritage. I'm in the States, so I very often have to like it's unfair to say I have to use American guidelines. I also look into German guidelines, the way they do things here, and I compare them and see how well it works for them over there. It's kind of like crisscrossing. It's like a ping pong. So it's a little bit more engaging, and it's very interesting to see how rules, regulations, how they protect students, and very much I feel like the Stoics are a little bit more cold. What I mean cold is they have procedures very hard to execute because it's very lengthy language. Well meant, it's just it doesn't feel natural. While in Germany, it's a very much on-hand experience. More, it is regulated, but more of a person-to-person level where you get to know the students. Because every time when I learn material here, I'm like, it sounds good on paper, but like a lot of it only works if you know who you're dealing with. And in Germany, like I was in one of my writing, I said like in Germany, going to school is a duty to a student. In the United States, it's more like a high school prom thing. You just go there for fun, and I spoke to many people my age, older, younger. How was high school here in the United States? And I think about how I went to school in Germany. Very different environment, very different thought process behind it. And also, too, in Germany, you deal with real people from a different part of the world. While in the States, it's very, like Romanized, where it's from place to place the same high school structure, student structure. In Germany, we have a lot of specialized facilities and organization to help students. And every time when I look at these regulations, I'm like, Germany is very practical, while the United States is very theoretical. And that's my own opinion. I'm probably going off subject. I'm probably in trouble. I'm getting a bad grade. I'm gonna jump to self-reflection. Gained emotional awareness, balance, empathy, neutrality, ethical, professional, and reinforced professionalism, confident applying theory to practice. And the reason was different because I knew her father, we're good friends. Separating our relationship is hard. Not hard. It's actually was fun. It's just I said hard because in the States it's hard because it's always about lawsuits and getting in trouble. I feel like you have these rules to protect yourself so you don't get in trouble. In Germany, we step in first to help and then see how it works. It's how to describe very proactive in Germany, what I love because I in my own experience dealing with school and I was in a disabled school, very proactive on hands. And over there, it's like over here, it's a lot of jargon, which I like to be personal. I want to get to know people here, and it didn't bother me. But also, I have to be aware that I'm in the States. I have to play by the rules here, so I need to be aware. Like never did I message the student personally. I always went through her dad, and I'm like, we did the Zoom call, making sure everything is done correctly with her supervision. I also talk, are you guys comfortable? Because my friend, he knows me well. He knows I have good intentions, but I would have to brief him about my procedures, the steps I'm taking, with the material I go through, and the things that we discuss. And I also said like, hey, we need to make up a little scenario because it's German, English, and Albanian, so you have to be maybe like help out, be a good parent, translating. And I felt a little bit hindered, but I did it in a fun way. We had a lot of fun doing all this work because I knew them, and it was really a good experience and very unique because not only is it new to me here in the States to do it, learning how you guys do it, but then I also do it internationally, kind of. So it's a lot of fun for me to learn. So let's go to the reference. So you see a lot of reference I use, like some from the book, some from the regulations, but then I highlighted complexity of students' background. So again, I had to like I can not only use my own experience, I have to use citation and reference and read into it. So I looked into multiculturalism in Europe, which I was part of, and it was easier to understand. But when I read the material, like I was imagining, let's say I'm in the States, I'm American here, and I never dealt with a student from another country, I would have to do a little bit more research. So I would do the research of like where they're from, their culture, their language, customs, and all that stuff, and just to get for myself be more prepared. I did the homework beforehand before I start dealing with the student, and I must put the camera right here. And then I felt, I grew up in this town. I know it really well, but then I did the extra researching and where felt architecture. One of the videos said the housing history of where I grew up, how Emmetsgrund and Boxberg were created, and the way it was. So I had a deep understanding what's going on, where she grew up, what kind of school she go, what kind of people, environment, and history this place had. Excuse me. And I was very happy about doing the extra research to know. So, like, the important thing I want to say is you can't just use the guidance and the examples. You have to step out and do your own research and see what's going on. And even though I know a lot of it, I need to take the extra step to be more aware. And I think that's what makes you a good professional counselor, in that case, a student, I mean, teacher. And that is my presentation. I hope you all enjoy it. Tell me what you guys think. Hopefully, I get an A, or I just have to drop out from college. Thank you all. You have a good day. Goodbye.